Jnanatimirandasya jananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam jena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nam Shrishtam Manumati Satyaputram Nutrasharupam Rupam Tasya Grajamarupurim Matharim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhikamadhavusam Prapto Yasha Pratita Gripaya Shri Gurum Tamnatasmi Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Nikhila Shruti Mole Ratnamala Vidhi Nirajita Pada Pankajanta Aji Mukta Kulair Pasyamanam Paritashtam Harinam Samshayami Anarpita Charin Chirat Kadunayavatarna Kalah Shumar Paitamunnatusvalarasam Svabhakti Shriyan Hari Purati Sundarati Tikadamba Sundipidaham Sada Hridaye Kandaresh Purato Vasachinandana Ajjanulambita Bujjo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksham Vishwambaro Dhiyagaro Jugadharma Pala Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Ladine Shakti Sarupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradanaya Gadadhara Namastude He Krishna Karuna Sindhudina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Radhe Vrindavanadishi Karunamrita Vahine Kripaya Nijapadabjadasyan Mahim Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Aparadhalakshaya Chitasya Kamaditarangamadye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Kripalam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Navadvip ki jai, Gaur Bhaktavrinda ki jai, Gaur Praman Hari Hari Bo. So, pranam to all of you from Sri Navadvip Dham. This time we have the fortune of being sheltered in Sriman Mahaprabhu's abode from some days on, so I feel very grateful and blessed by having the chance of being here and by sharing with all of you for sure another ISTAGOSTHI or Q&A session. So, as usual, we are invited to present any questions you may have, whether via written text in the chat or raising your hand in Zoom or sharing some written message here on YouTube Live, or mentioning that you have a question and you can unmute yourself. So meanwhile, there are some questions already. One that I see here that Namrasa sent, and also two other questions that were sent to me, I think today and yesterday. So at least we have three. So we will begin with those three, and let's see if we have time for more. So I will begin with the one that was sent first, which was a question by Suki Krishna Prabhu from the UK, who was not able to connect live, so he sent a written question about chastity to the Guru. So he read some articles, some words by Sripad Bhakti Gaurab Narasingha Maharaj. So he shared those words with me. I will do it with you as well, brief words, and then comes a question. So Narasimha Maharaj says, some people have the idea that if we worship our Guru Varga, our original Guru is lost. He is never lost. Our original Guru always remains in our heart and is never lost, but we may find his grace and guidance in many places. That is our supreme fortune. Many give a challenge that you are not chaste to your Guru. My response is no, you are not chaste. You are only looking at the form, not in the substance. Chastity to Guru means chastity to the principle of Guru, not to the form. Chastity to Guru means strict adherence to the principle of Vaishnavism of Guru Tattva, not to the shape or form of the Guru. So that's a quote. And the question that comes is, can you give further explanation of this statement and some practical example where chastity to the form of the Guru will be inferior to chastity to the principle of the Guru? So, Guru Tattva Ki Jai. Yeah, this is a very classical, important topic that Sukhi Krishna's Prabhu is asking here, and Sripad Narasimha Maharaj is speaking about here. Chastity to Sri Guru, what does it mean in practice? How to properly conceive these terms? Because the term may be there: loyalty, chastity, fidelity, surrender. I mean, we have a whole glossary of terms. But how we are interpreting them and how we are applying them in practice, in consideration with that same principle in other cases. For example, how I am being chaste to my Guru in my relationship with others who are trying to be chaste with their Gurus. So how my chastity to my Guru does not downplays or overrides another one's chastity to their Guru. And so that's an important question, because Guru Tattva is very complex. It's complex. It's not so easy as we may think. Actually, it is said by most of our acharyas, Guru Tattva is the most difficult tattva to ascertain. So if you misunderstand Guru Tattva, that may create lots of difficulties, and if you properly address Guru Tattva, that may open the door to all the doors that have to be open, basically. So it's very crucial for us to have a very, very comprehensive, mature, Saragrahi-like, essence-like understanding of Guru Tattva, because if that's not there, that really can damage our whole devotional enterprise. Our whole devotional project may go even to ruin if we do not properly embrace this principle. We know this is one of the namaparats we have to avoid, which is almost stated twice in the famous list of 10. The first one and third one is almost the same, but just in case, say it twice. Do not offend the sadhu and do not offend the guru, which the two may be connected intimately, maybe synonymous to one point, but the necessity is there to be emphasized. So what's the idea here? Guru as an individual and Guru as a principle. Vyasti Guru, Samasti Guru, basically. Vyasti Guru refers to the person, to the localized representative of the agency of Guru Tattva, which may take the form of our own Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru, whoever. And then we have the Samasti Guru, the conglomerate, if you will, or as my Guru Maharaj would like to call, the macrocosmic expression of Guru Tattva. We have the microcosmic, the localized individual expression of Guru Tattva, and the macrocosmic universal conglomerate form of Guru Tattva. In other words, the idea is that any single Guru, bona fide, genuine Guru, and we will speak about that also, is basically representing the whole agency. The whole agency is being properly represented by one particular individual. So that individual is to be honored accordingly to how transparent of a medium he or she is in connection to that agency, which actually is non-different ultimately from Bhagavan himself. Acharya mam vijaniyam sakshat haridvena samasta shastra. Guru Tattva, in one sense, is a form of Vishnu Tattva, well, if you will, is Bhagavan himself extending his grace through a particular expression in the form of devotion to himself, and reaching us through the agents of Guru. So basically that's the very basic idea of Guru Tattva. So the point here, or the quote of Sri Padmanabha Maharaj is, some people may think, if you worship the Guru Varga, if you go, I don't know, beyond, not beyond, that's not the word, but if you get inspiration from someone else apart from your Guru, your Guru will be lost. No? I never heard that particular idea, but for sure that must be a given if it is analyzed here. But of course, some variations of that are there, which basically say that Amar Guru Jagat Guru, that the saying goes. My Guru is Guru for the whole universe. So everyone should take shelter in him, in her, whoever, in my Guru. In this type of statements, the most important word is my, not Guru. My Guru is the best. The main emphasis there is in my, is an ego statement. My Guru is the best. And the implication, of course, is I am the best. That's the underlying subconscious notion. My Guru is the topmost Rasik Mahabhagavat Uttam Adhikari on the planet. Therefore, everyone should take shelter in him alone. And since I'm his disciple, well, you can conclude about the rest of the sentence. But this is not correct. The very fact of speaking in terms of Guru only as individuals, only as vyasti, without considering the samasti principle, without considering the plurality of gurus existing around us, is offensive, basically. Is a downplaying of the whole conception of Guru Tattva. If you say there's only one Guru, means, as my Guru Master would say, if you think about in terms of only one Guru, it means you do not even have one Guru. Because you have not understand what your Guru wants to give you, which are the gifts he wants to convey, which open the door to so many other Gurus, to so many other personalities. Like Sri Raghunath Das Goswami says, Nam Shrestha Manumapi Satchiputram, and so on, this famous shloka, where he lists all or some of the gifts the Sri Guru is given to the disciple, and there is including so many other personalities. Sri Raghunath Das is praying to his Guru and thanking him for giving him Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and so many other personalities. So the point is that if you really connect to one Guru, you actually will be connected to a whole myriad, a whole parade of stalwarts, personalities, Guru Parampara, Guru Varga. If you think in terms of one Guru, again, that means you have not properly grasped the very foundations of Guru Tattva yet. To make this point clear, Sri Krishna Das Kaviraj starts the very first two words of his Chaitanya Charitamrita, put in context the whole treatise. Chaitanya Charitamrita is about God acting as Guru, basically. Krishna as Mahaprabhu. Krishna in his Acharya Leela. There is a lot of Guru Tattva in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The concept of Guru is really present there. So how this treatise begins, which are the very two words of the treatise, Bande Gurun, not Bande Guru, Sri Charana Arabindam, which is a singular way of addressing my Gurudev. But Bande Gurun means I offer my bandhanam, my pranam, to all my gurus, to the spiritual masters, in plural. So right at the very onset of this most important treatise for us Gaudiyas, the principle of plurality of gurus is established. So we are to think in terms of plurality of gurus. Of course, this should not be done in a way that confuses us or dilutes our attention, because sometimes also we hear this type of claims that actually can become an excuse not to take shelter in the parampara, and saying, oh, I don't want just to limit myself to one guru, so that's why I'm not accepting initiation, basically. I want to have so many gurus. But that type of idea actually shows you do not understand what does it mean to take shelter in one guru. No, it's not limited to that particular person. It may seem so in the beginning, and we may need to concentrate in one single personality in the beginning, but eventually we will realize that person is not alone. That person is not only having his own guru, Diksha Guru and Siksha Gurus and God brothers and God sisters, and gifting me with so many God brothers and God sisters to myself, but also that person, Sri Guru, eventually will advance and realize he's established in a particular, at least in some cases, in a particular position in the Leela, and so many other personalities are with him, and he wants to connect me with them. So many other further gurus are there, both in Sri Guru's presentation as a Sadhaka, as well as his presentation as a Siddha. The Srimad Bhagavatam itself mentioned this point over and over again. Nahi ekashmat guru orgyanam sustiram sat supushkalam brahmaita dadvitiyam by gyati bahudare shivi. Which means the absolute truth is absolute. Therefore, there's no possibility of one single guru being able to fully convey all that the absolute is about. Therefore, more than one guru is necessary to gain comprehensive knowledge about the absolute. The Bhagavatam is saying that. I'm not saying that, I'm just repeating. So again, this principle is there from day one. So by properly honoring our parampara, guru is not lost. We have been speaking about this from different aspects. So here is some question that Suki Krishna is mentioning, as a practical example where chastity to the form of the guru will be inferior to chastity to the principle of the guru. Well, many examples. One typical one is to say, my guru say this, and you may say, well, but your guru is not independent from his guru and the whole parampara. So you have to see what your guru is saying in the light of the original Gaudiya Siddhanta. To give a classical practical example, at times Srila Prabhupada says we fall from Golok Vrindavan. So you may, in the name of being chaste to Prabhupada, just basically embrace that teaching. But what happens if eventually you realize the Goswamis are not saying that? The Gaudiya Siddhanta is not that we fall from Golok. What will you do? In the name of being chaste to Prabhupada, you will reject the 6 Goswamis? That's a practical example of chastity to one guru, to the form of the guru, if you will, by, in one sense, rejecting the principle of the guru, the plurality of guru, that is giving validation to the present acharyas. So we shouldn't engage in that way. We should try to harmonize whatever apparent discrepancies are there. So that's one example, and of course many in that same line. My guru say this, my guru say that. When engaging in Gaudiya debate, for example, many devotees are not properly trained or prepared for that. And with this, I'm not only meaning philosophically educated, but sometimes they do not even know the proper sequence of how to address a particular Siddhantic point. And basically the main claim is, my Gurudev say this. My Gurudev say this, and that's the all in all. I don't care. Basically, they're saying in many cases, I don't care for whatever anyone else is saying. My Gurudev say this. But I can say to him, oh, my Gurudev said this, and you say, my Gurudev said this, and we can, for eternity, just say, my Gurudev said this. So we should find some consensual scriptural canon, common point, where all of us Gaudiyas can agree and take as a reference whenever we are discussing a particular topic, instead of just being chased, if you will, to our Guru. So chastity is not necessarily chastity. It's generally the ones who make lip service to the notion of chastity, shouting about that, are the ones who understand that the less. And one thing is chastity, as my Guru Maharaj will say, another thing is purity. So chastity is more like a mechanical, forced attempt to remain faithful, if you will, while purity has to do with a much more substantial understanding of the real intention of the parampara of Guru Tattva, and aligning oneself with that. So again, chastity to the Guru doesn't mean just in the name of praising my Gurudev. For example, that can happen also. In the name of glorifying my Gurudev, I'm downplaying other personalities. But also, that doesn't mean, for example, what I say before. If I say, well, I have found that Srila Prabhupada say we fall from Golok, and I have found that he say that we don't fall from Golok. So the fact that I'm saying that, which is an objective fact I have met in my studies, doesn't mean that I'm downplaying him by saying that, or even by suggesting he may have presented the preaching strategy. Jai Brigupad Prabhu, Pranam. Waiting for you here in Bengal, don't forget that. So it's not a downplaying. It's not a downplaying. It's not a relativizing or a discouraging of faith for those who want to be chaste to that person. Because to be chaste or to be pure, to be faithful, implies to have faith. And to have faith in the Acharya means to nourish our faith, to make our faith mature in the context of Shastra, to acquire Shastriya Shraddha. So Shastriya Shraddha is to be developed through Shastra. So if by quoting Shastra, our faith is disturbed, as I always say, which type of faith do we have? Which type of faith do we want to have? You follow? If you tell me, no, my Guru say we fall from Golok, and I say by Shastra say we don't fall, and you say you are disturbing my faith by quoting Shastra. And I will say, I mean, the purpose of Shastra is not to disturb your faith, but to nourish your faith. The point is how much you are allowing yourself to be nourished by the quoting of Shastra, or how much do you just want to remain in a complacent zone, not allowing yourself to think outside the box, not allowing yourself to enter into the realm of paradox, and just want to remain basically a zealot, a fundamentalist. So real chastity to the Guru, again, means basically follow the essence, not following the form. And the form, again, means the form may be there, Bapu, physical presence of Sri Guru, and we will honor that and we will serve that, but not over absolutizing that to the point of dismissing all the other personalities who are giving sense, are giving context to the presence of that particular Guru in my life. And so we should be very careful about not engaging in Vaishnava opera. That's very easy nowadays, unfortunately, I would say. Unfortunately, sometimes there has been some form of subconscious culture of Vaishnava opera with something that is not in my mood, in my circle, in my lineage, maybe quickly or cheaply seen as sahaja, aparadi, deviant. That happens sometimes. I've heard about, unfortunately, expressing in those terms without knowing who the person is, but just because he or she is affiliated with a certain lineage which is not mine, something wrong must be there. Well, that's not necessarily the case. And in every single group, something wrong is going on always. Not in the individuals necessarily, but in the groups themselves, missions, communities, there is always some deviation going on for sure. We are not in Golok Vrindavan. So we should be able to separate these facts. And properly honor the principle of Guru in its universal expression, and of course as well as in the individual one. Both are equally important, I would say. It's not that I'm only concentrated in honoring the Samasti Guru, so therefore I don't care for the individuals. It's not like this. But also it's not that I over-concentrate in one single individual to the point of stop considering other ones. So again, we may begin with one, but in time we will have to expand our angle of vision. My Guru Maharaj told me that one good sister of him asked him some years back, I don't understand how you can have two gurus, because he had Prabhupada and Srila Siddhar Maharaj. And he laughed, because he basically said, like the implication was how you can have another guru apart from Srila Prabhupada. And basically he said, well, Srila Prabhupada himself had two gurus. Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Siddhar Maharaj is his Siksha Guru. And Srila Prabhupada's Siksha Guru, Srila Siddhar Maharaj, happened to be the Siksha Guru of my Guru Maharaj. So I don't think that should be a problem. So Srila Puri Maharaj says, if you think that's a problem, then you have a problem. So some ideas in this connection. If you want to go deeper into that, Sukhi Krishna Prabhu, I will recommend, of course, many things, but one that comes to mind immediately, just by invoking the name of Srila Siddhar Maharaj, of course, is to study his wonderful series of conversations compiled and called Sri Guru and His Grace. Very, very substantial material concerning Guru Tattva. So let's go to Namrasa's question. I have one more question from the list, but we will switch a little bit. And I see there is one more from Greg. So let's see. Namrasa is asking, how to get proper and effective Sadhu-sanga in 2021, in this year, these times, when everything is almost virtual. Can virtual Sadhu-sanga fully replace personal Sadhu-sanga? Does the efficacy diminish virtually? Okay. So yeah, this is a question that sometimes has been presented. I think you yourself had made, not the same question for sure, but a similar one some months back, I think so, in one Facebook thread, if I'm not mistaken, and I share with you some link to an article by Sri Bhaktipragyan Kesari Maharaj called Shastriya Sadhu-sanga. So it seems it is a concern for you, and it is a healthy one, so it's important because it should be a concern for all of us, in the sense that shows some preoccupation with the present dynamics of the world and all that it may create in the name of like diluting our experience of possibility of sadhu-sanga. So I wouldn't necessarily reply, of course, in black and white terms, saying yes, no, because so many things can be said that are happening because of this. On one side, one could say you are not able to meet Vaishnavas so often in person, but also you could say due to the COVID dynamics, if you want, so many more online Harikatha and Sadhu-sanga has been available more than ever before. At least that's my experience in our particular Sangha, and I don't think that is the exception to the rule. So in one sense, one could say there's much more availability for hearing Harikatha, and on the other sense, of course, one could say yes, but the in-person experience is not that available. So again, it's not black and white. So I think we should see both sides of the spectrum. Also, I will say that, as we also spoke about, this is a very particular time for us to appreciate the possibility of in-person sadhu-sanga, because sometimes when we have or we had that chance, we didn't take full advantage because we took for granted, well, I can go another day. He's living just nearby. The program is every week, blah, blah, blah. So we kind of procrastinated and not gave ourselves fully, didn't invest ourselves fully in the experience of in-person sadhu-sanga. So now we are thrown into a pool of separation, if you will. So that can make our heart grow fonder, hopefully, and make us increase our longing for that, to value in the distance. Now the distance always, I always give this example that my Guru Maharaj also gives, of detachment. No, detachment means not becoming indifferent by taking a distance from something and learning to see that something from the distance and seeing things that you were not able to see when you were not in that distance. No, like if I put my hand too close to my eye, I cannot see my hand any longer. It's too close. I lose sight, if you will, of what the hand is. I forget that I have a hand, basically. But when I put it on a particular perspective, oh, I can see the hand. It's not that far that I lose sight of it, but it's not so close that I lose sight of it. Too far, too close, I lose sight of it. So similarly, one could say these particular world dynamics are creating some distancing that we can appreciate from that perspective, those things that sometimes were too close, that we got accustomed to that. No? That it became part of ordinary life, basically, daily life. We have that potential of making extraordinary daily aspects of our life to make them ordinary by getting just accustomed, like swallowing like a mechanical thing. Okay, yeah, this is this, that. And of course, Sadhu-sanga is not that. Sadhu-sanga is not a social convention. Sadhu-sanga is not a, I don't know, something that I have to do once a week or something like this, like putting my card in the work, my job. But it's something crucial. That is something that I really need to invest myself fully, 100% from tip to toe. So I think that these present world dynamics are a good moment for us to really be introspective and ask ourselves how to reapproach Sadhu-sanga, how I was approaching Sadhu-sanga before all this, and how I would like to do that eventually if the world dynamics becomes normalized, if that happens at all. And if that doesn't happen at all, still all of us have chance for in-person Sadhu-sanga. I don't think that it's totally impossible. So that's also another way of saying that now we have some obstacles, quote unquote, that are making our in-person Sadhu-sanga more difficult than before. So we have the choice. Do I use that as an excuse and I may play the victim? So no, I cannot go to the temple because of this or that. Or I nourish from the obstacles and I make those obstacles make my longing increase and then pursue that Sadhu-sanga as usual, as before, or even more. Because that's it. When there's proper longing, the obstacles are just increasing the quality of our approach, basically. Like what in everything in life, I mean, proper obstacles, if you're properly situated, strictly speaking, there are no obstacles, but they are just udipanas, I will say, like stimulants, like triggers for increasing our approach to where we are going. No? Like when the gopis or the Goswamis are in separation of Krishna, so many obstacles on the way are coming, but all those obstacles are just throwing fire to the fire of their longing. So in the same way, we could say COVID as an obstacle, but this is an obstacle that comes to nourish our longing and to make us, to put us in a particular test, no? Under test, like to see ourselves and say, okay, let's see how do I conduct myself? I'm being put to test. I have two options here. I can play the victim. I use this COVID dynamics as an excuse, or I can use this as the perfect reason to nourish my longing. And despite the so-called obstacles, I want to show myself, to show my Gurudev, to show my Istadev, how much I cherish this. So I don't care there are obstacles. I will go to the temple. I will cherish Sadhu-sanga. And if there are obstacles, they should never be an excuse. I mean, we should never think something is an obstacle to my Sadhu-sanga. We should and act accordingly. Oh, it's an obstacle, so my Sadhu-sanga became diluted. No, if something is in connection to the object of my longing, whatever comes in the way of that is there to increase my longing. That should be our conclusion. I mean, we should have certain objects of longing, if you will, certain goals in life that we know we want to increase our attachment in that direction, our love in that direction, our affectionate disposition in that direction. And of course, if you say that, and you pray for that, be sure the tests will come. Not to make you live that conviction, but to really nourish that. So this will be an example for me. So again, with this, I'm not saying COVID ki jai and let forever these dynamics remain on Earth. But I mean, it may happen. And if that doesn't happen, some other obstacles will be there for sure. Don't forget that we are not in Golok Vrindavan. So that's my point. Now we may be, I'm not saying you're doing that, but we may be just complaining, oh, because of COVID, I cannot do this. But before COVID, we have some other work to complete in that part. Because of my job, I cannot do this. Because of this, I cannot. Now it's COVID. Now it's the perfect excuse not to do all the things that we know we should do. But even after COVID is solved, something else may happen. Something else will happen for sure. But again, that something else is not there to be made an excuse for us. It's there to really increase our longing. So again, the same thing can be made an excuse, or the same thing can be igniting our passionate pursuit. It's about us. What do we choose? It's about how we invest our agency, how sincere we are, basically. So in that sense, I will say, meanwhile, again, we should, before replying, if virtual meetings diminish the impact and so on, I will make the point that try to make them as in person as possible. Because again, there's lots in virtual, great, but again, yes, there is some difference in direct sadhu-sanga. So as much as you can, try to use these obstacles as udipanas, as stimulants. As much as you have to resort to virtual meetings, if you are sincerely invested again in your own authenticity, efficacy won't be diminished at all. At all. Because again, Sadhu-sanga is not a physical affair. It's not just getting two bodies together and that warranties Sadhu-sanga. I mean, Sadhu-sanga doesn't mean just two bodies next to each other and we got the picture, Sadhu-sanga ki jai. Sometimes we may do that, no? And we are 51 in the picture, and it's nice, of course, hold the board, but the picture is not enough. No? The group picture is nice. We upload that, and many likes are there. But that's not the gist of the whole thing. I know that many of these group pictures of one event, and in the background of that, there is so much conflict between so many of the members of the pictures who are on one extreme and the other. or whatever, no? Not to ruin the picture, but I mean, Sadhu-sanga, a picture is not enough, basically. Physical proximity is not enough. Sadhu-sanga is not about physical proximity. It's about getting together in the context of anugatya. Srila Prabhupada made it very clear when he translates Bhagavad Gita 4:34, pranipatena, he translates pranipat not as surrender to the Guru, but as approach your Guru. Like implying real proximity is in terms of dedication, not just running and being there with him close. I mean, Ramachandra Puri was close to his Guru, Madhavendra Puri, next to him in his deathbed. No? Generally, you hear these narrations of the disciple was next to his Guru in the deathbed. You may feel, wow, you cannot get as intimate as that. But what happened with Ramachandra Puri? He was totally rejected by his Guru. He was suggesting his Guru when Madhavendra Puri was saying, Ajidina dayadranantahe maturanad kadavalokashe hidayam tadaloka katram daita brahmyat kim karomyam. When he was praying in Radha Bhav, in separation from Krishna and so on, this famous prayer that Mahaprabhu liked so much, he was expressing these highest feelings that actually represent like the seed that then Mahaprabhu exemplified, Ramachandra Puri didn't grasp at all what was going on, and he said, "Oh Gurudev, you are suffering so much. Stop suffering. Just concentrate on Brahman, and stop suffering. Na sochati na kankshati. Samasar beshtabhuti." So become equipoised and do not more lamentation. And Madhavendra Puri said, "Get out of here. I don't want to hear your face. Do not spoil this last moment of mine." So he was physically next to him in his deathbed, but he was not, there was not Sadhu-sanga for him. So the point is, if we are properly situated internally, we are having Sadhu-sanga, even if that's virtual. So many disciples of Srila Prabhupada never met Srila Prabhupada personally even once. So you will think, oh, there were less disciples of Prabhupada because they didn't have physical proximity. No, not at all. In this, Srila Prabhupada himself, how much time was he with Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta? If you put all the hours together, it's a few days maximum. And that doesn't mean he was less of a disciple. You can see the Phalena Parishyate, you can judge the tree by its fruit. So again, and he didn't have virtual connection even. It was just whenever he was able to meet him, some letters here and there. So it's all about, it's not so much about, let's see if virtual connection, which is the percentage of less impact in Sadhu-sanga by virtual connection than by physical. No, you can be fully invested yourself in this particular virtual talk and receiving all the benefits of Sadhu-sanga, and you can be totally absent from a physical situation with a great sadhu that is willing to give her Sadhu-sanga to you, but you are not willing to do that. So again, all of that is about our internal stand. So some ideas from different angles regarding how to deal with the present world dynamics and Sadhu-sanga and how to take advantage of COVID and so on. As we always say, instead of speaking about in terms of coronavirus, we should say coronavirus. Coronavirus. It is there to spread some special type of mercy. So it's up to us if we are willing to receive that or not. So thanks for your question. I'll go to the next question that was sent some days back, and then I will go to Greg's inquiry. So there's one question from Balaram Prabhu from New Zealand that, oh, I see he's connected. If we are speaking, if he's the same Balaram that I think of. So thank you for doing your sacrifice there in New Zealand. I don't know what time is it, but I know it's a weird time, so you are still connected. Thank you. So the question he made says, lots of kirtan here in the background, just in case. Can you please talk about the idea of spiritual bypassing, and that devotees or any spiritual practitioners, for that matter, are avoiding addressing issues of this world, be it environmental, political, or social issues? I have heard from a wise sadhu that for devotees, we understand that rather than seeing this world as being full of problems, this world is the problem. Can you please share some thoughts on how to properly apply these ideas? Yeah, some days ago, I think 2 weeks ago or something, I remember this same topic somehow was addressed in the Spanish Q&A, when Kali Yuga Pavan Prabhu from Colombia asked about which is the Gaudiya, if you will, stance on social activism. And so I won't try to repeat myself, but of course some common points are there. So of course, the very idea of spiritual bypassing is not limited to the rest of the question, but I think that the question in itself is pointing to that particular form of spiritual bypassing. So I will basically focus in that direction, in the sense of sadhakas who are avoiding addressing issues of this world. So this is very relative because it will depend a lot of who we are speaking about, which is the adhikar of each sadhaka. Only by ascertaining one's adhikar we can know how to proceed. The Bhagavad says, Swesvedikari janishta saguna parakirtita. In the words of Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda, he translates this verse saying, to be able to ascertain one's own adhikar, that's real beauty. The Bhagavatam says that's real virtue, but that's another way of saying it. So if you are capable to establish, to acknowledge, to ascertain basically where you are at, adhikara means kara means to do, and adi means like till here. So adhikara means this is my limit. I can do till here, basically. To recognize your limits, basically. Your present limits in the context, of course, of embracing your potential, embracing all that is coming for you to upgrade yourself according to your potential, for sure. But also to acknowledge where I am at now. So I'm saying this why? Because you are asking about addressing issues in this world, like environment issues, politics, social issues. But the point is, according to your adhikar, you may need to do those things, or you may not need to do those things. So in some cases, that may be a form of bypassing, a form of avoidance. And in other cases, it may be just a necessary thing to do for you to render a better service. And naturally, you won't be interested in those. So there are different degrees of this. This is not just like one size fits all. So yes, the example you had given that actually comes from my Guru Maharaj is sometimes people will speak in terms of the world. There are so many problems in the world, such as the ones you mentioned, environmental, social, political issues and whatnot, long list. But from another perspective, there are no problems in the world, but the world is a problem. Not in the spirit of rejecting the world and saying, oh, this world is Maya, everything is bad here, we are to reject this, because that's not the Gaudiya stance. Nanirbino shakto, bhakti yoga siddhita. A devotee aspires to attain perfection in bhakti by becoming not too attached and not too detached, having the proper middle path stance to deal with matter in a successful way, basically. So, but the world is a problem in the sense of the world is a riddle to be solved, basically. The world is a puzzle to be deciphered, if you will, whatever the example you want to give. In that sense, it's a problem. It is a problem for us still yet. Still is a problem for us. Ultimately, the world is not the problem. The problem is in us. So it's not that we are blaming planet Earth or anyone outside of us. And even we shouldn't blame ourselves in the sense of blame and guilt and shame. But we should take healthy responsibility according to the type of vision we choose to maintain, the angle of vision we still keep in ourselves, because that's the lens that will take us to see the world in a particular way or another. And as we see, as Mahaprabhu gave the example, the potential is that you can see everything in this world as a reminder of Krishna Lila. Everything in this world can speak to you about your positive culture of devotion. Whenever he saw extension of water, he thought in terms of the Jamuna. Whenever he saw a little tract of land, he thought about Govardhan. Whenever he saw a tree or blade of grass, he paid his respects by finding Guru Tattva there. So that's there again. The water is there, the land is there, the trees, the grass is there. The question is, are we seeing Govardhan, Jamuna, and Guru Tattva? Or what are we seeing? So, of course, the conclusion is the adjustment is internal. Oops. Can you hear me? Interestingly, the light went off.
Yes, we can hear you.
But internet is still there. So, what to do? Let me look for a little lantern or light I have here, at least to provide some more light. I don't know how much this will change, but something more, a little bit. So yeah, this happens usually. This happened already the other day as well. So I don't know how long this light will last, but at least some moments. So again, for some devotees, environmental issues, political issues, social issues may be still, if you will, perceived as necessary. Okay, that was all. In their nature, human nature, certain samskars that take them to feel the need to culture certain sattvic virtues and be whole as human beings. But of course, all that should be done in such a way that is creating a more favorable ground for our devotional culture. So we should use that, if you will, thermometer, that yardstick to measure how much disengagement, whatever it may be, in the world is not distracting me from my bhakti, my sadhana, my culture. So again, for this, I go again to what my Guru Maharaj said, and what I mentioned before, detachment, some distance from the world. Before trying to enter into the world and transform the world and create a change in the world, take a distance and try to first understand the nature of the world. Because if you just run to the world without understanding what's the world, without understanding principles such as samsara, karma, shrishti lila, all these foundational concepts that we need to understand, Maya, Shakti, if you don't understand how all these operate, you may just run to the world to become trapped in it and not be very able to change anything for good. You may just become bewildered by its influence. So that's why sometimes we are advised to take a distance. With this doesn't mean a physical distance. It doesn't mean you have to live in a cave on the mountain. That's an option, but but the distance is in terms of being careful of not being carried away by the waves of this world, which are made of mostly rajas and tamas. There is sattva for sure, but mostly rajas and tamas if we speak in terms of social issues, political issues, so many things, even environmental issues. I mean, so many deep dance influences are there. So we need to keep ourselves sattvic and even more from some safe perspective, so we can understand the world for what it is, so we can approach it with proper conceptual orientation. In that sense, my Guru Maharaj will say, try to understand that the world is a problem before you go to the world, because if not, you will go to the world and you will find so many problems that need to be solved. That means that you have not taken the time to first understand the world for what it is, which is, this is a problem in itself, in the sense, this is something to be solved. And to be solved doesn't mean I have to get the whole population of the planet free from samsara, because that won't happen. That's not what the world is. Anadi karma, shrishti lila means the show must go on. This is going continuously for eternity. Unlimited number of jivas, unlimited number of universes. So yes, the problem has to end for us as an individual to begin with. The more we were able to solve that problem, the more we'll be able to extend that solution to other participants of this Shrishti Lila. So I will emphasize that, of course, how that takes form in the life of each devotee. That's a very particular thing according, again, to each one's adhikar. But we should remain very much aware and thoughtful about how each of my movements are affecting me, for good or for bad. Whatever I'm doing, we should remain like aware of how is this affecting me, how I'm reacting to that, not just entering into survival mode or automatic mechanical mode and just doing stuff without thinking about which is the result of that. Because we are after a result, we are after the result, prem prayojan. So this is not something that will happen just by pressing a button one day and everything else follows suit automatically. No, it's a daily reassurance, daily reacceptance of the ideal, and that requires inner attention, basically. Where I'm going today, where I'm going the day after tomorrow, I'm still tomorrow, and so on. I'm always going the same direction, because sometimes I may got distracted, and if I'm not aware that I got distracted, I may continue in that distracted direction for who knows how long. That can happen, and you realize, oh, the last days, hours, minutes. I mean, a short sample of that happens, for example, when devotees chant japa. No? To give an example, you are chanting and you're trying to concentrate on Srinam to hear the name, but at some point your mind goes shopping somewhere else. But you don't realize that distraction is happening. So you just go with the flow, if you will. And you go and you go and you go and you start to think about so many other things that have nothing to do with your chanting. And maybe 5, 10, 15, hopefully not more, minutes have passed. And at one point you realize, I mean, what the hell I'm thinking about? And when that happened? And how one thought took me to the other, and that thought took me to the other. And from praying to Sri Radha Krishna's mercy, I ended up thinking about who knows what. You fill the line with your most embarrassing distractions. So my point is, that happened and you didn't realize that happened. So that we are carried. And for some minutes, the distraction took place, or for some hours. So the same thing can extend for hours, days, weeks, in another levels, maybe years, lifetimes. So we are coming from lifetimes of distraction. That's an important point to acknowledge. Brahmanda Brahmiti Korn. Bhagavan Jiva. But now we are merciful, we are fortunate jivas. Because after such a journey, beginningless journey of distraction, and distraction, now we have been able to focus, to properly honor our attention. So that's the way of counteracting this beginningless distraction. The opposite of distraction is attention. So the question is what I'm doing with my attention. So, and again, what all these involvements, engagements in the world, whatever issues that there may be, even family, or even being in an ashram, or even doing service, in the name of that, sometimes we may just be distracted. So many things can happen. What to speak of nowadays, social media dynamics. That's like a brutal explosion of distraction. I mean, that's totally grotesque. I mean, so easily you can just throw yourself into a bottomless ocean of distraction. So, I mean, we need to to really be disciplined as sadhakas. We need to honor our attention. That's the thing the only thing we have to offer to Krishna, basically, especially now. Offering our attention, offering our focused prayer, our focused practice, our intentional focus, if you will. So that takes time, and that may be difficult, but that's a very glorious struggle that Krishna will take note of. So basically that. The rest, each one has to ascertain their own duties, basically, in this life, in this world. I cannot tell you that. You have to, each of us, not you, Balaram, or anyone, but every one of us has to really grow to the point of of developing a sensitive way of detecting all these necessities and how all the things are affecting us in one direction or the other. So I will go to the last question. There may be more, but I think that will be enough for today. It was a long day today. So Greg is sending one question from UK. Jai Greg, pranam. Nice to see you. And he's asking, can you please share a little about the role of acceptance in our practice and daily lives? Yes, why not? So, well, I think in part I said some things in my previous answer, reply, because again, to acknowledge where you are, to acknowledge your adhikar is real beauty. So I think, I mean, I will say something else, but I think that's like the crux of the whole thing. No? The Bhagavatam itself is like inspiring us, pushing us to embrace this acceptance by saying, that's beautiful. No? And we may say, no, it's not beautiful. It feels terrible, horrible. To acknowledge where I am now, to acknowledge this and that particular thing that is going on in my life at present. But I will say, Saguna Parikirtita. That's real virtue. That's real beauty. And to not do that, then the verse continues, that's the opposite of that. To avoid acceptance, because that's acceptance basically. To avoid acceptance, that's the most ugly thing you could do. And that's paradoxical because we know in this world, most of the people generally tries to show a face of themselves totally lacking in acceptance, no? But just evading, being evasive to all the things that they have to accept and trying to create a mask that may seem beautiful. And the Bhagavatam says that's the ugliest thing you can do. Even though the whole world will say how beautiful, and you get the most likes by presenting that particular mask. And the opposite thing, which is again not that popular in nowadays world, to accept your shortcomings, to open yourself to vulnerability and the recognition of certain lackings or whatever, fears, doubts, in the context of being sincere, in the context of opening our hearts for mercy. Bhagavatam will say, it may not be popular, but that's real beauty. We are after real beauty. The material world is not after real beauty. Material existence is all about false sense of beauty, false sense of what is beautiful, what is good to show to the world, how I should behave. That's beautiful, that's accepted socially, blah, blah, blah. But we do not care for that. Sometimes we may have to make some little show if we are working here and there, blah, but we shouldn't. We should have very clear in our heart, we are not about that. Rupa Goswami said, Gyan karma adi anabritam. Our type of bhakti, uttam bhakti, is not covered by karma. And Rupa Goswami, on the commentators claim, or Rupa Goswami himself also, that means that even though sometimes the devotee for some social reasons have to engage in some particular whatever, social ritual or custom, so to not be seen as too weird and that may go against his practice, internally he knows, I don't care for that. This has nothing to do with my bhakti. So we can apply that same notion to nowadays, no? To what is it? It is considered socially acceptable, beautiful, good, nice, but in reality represent the ugliest possible thing because they totally lack acceptance of what's really going on in our lives. Try to imagine, I mean, what can be more horrible than to be totally evasive to what's going on in your life, to be totally evasive to reality, to give your back to reality. How can that be beautiful? So the Bhagavatam is saying to accept all that you can accept today. Again, so many things we are expected to accept, but also there are so many lessons to go through, so many layers of acceptance. So we cannot swallow the whole cake in one single meal, if you will. We will die. it is too much. So whatever I have to accept today, let that happen. I want to be available for that. That should be the disposition. Whatever Krishna, Srinam, my sadhana, the sadhus, destiny wants to show to me today in the context of acceptance, I'm all for that. I mean, that's the purpose of my day. If my day have passed without any type of that acceptance, probably I was just engaged in a show of false beauty, of showing myself as what I'm not. So that means I didn't take advantage of my day. Srila Prabhupada said that nicely. No, he said, at the end of every day, at the night when the devotee is going to sleep, before falling to sleep, one should think for a minute about one's day, how the day passed, how I conducted myself. He maybe not have used the word acceptance in that point, but this is totally applicable to that. So we can do retrospectively think, how was my acceptance today? How attentive I was connecting to the previous reply, attention, and how much alert was I to accept whatever needs to be accepted, because that's a fact. That's there in the environment. The environment is inviting me to a certain level of acceptance. The point is how much I'm alert to that, how much I'm willing to hear that the flute call. Basically, the flute call of Krishna is all about acceptance. And we see how the gopis exhibit their acceptance. They're rejecting everything else for the sake of that only call. Of course, that's a highest example, but that's showing the ultimate reach of acceptance, where everything else is to be rejected for that whole comprehensive acceptance. And they were really attentive to that. They didn't need to make Krishna play the flute for 3 hours. So, okay, let's go. Even when the flute is not sounding, they are there with him already. But somehow, because of certain, again, external dynamics, they behave in a certain way, but they do not care for that. That's the very example that Mahaprabhu gave to Raghunath Das Goswami. He said, when he wanted to join Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu said, no, you remain with your family for a while, but just act as a woman who has a male lover. She's at home, and externally she's engaging in her duties even better than ever, so the other ones do not suspect, but internally he's totally absorbed. She's totally absorbed in her love. So this is the same. We are to combine these two ideas, attention and acceptance. So how attentive I am for acceptance, how much I'm thirsty for acceptance, how much do I feel the need for acceptance? Because again, in theory, I know every single day is offering me a new opportunity for embracing a little bit more Krishna's will, for embracing a little bit more Saranagati, surrender, for advancing one more step in the ladder towards my ultimate goal. That's the purpose of a new day coming. That's the purpose why the sun is appearing every day for us Gaudias. That's the main purpose. Of course, we may have some other things to do in our agenda, but all of those things should be done in the context of the main purpose. So that's why we try to engage in sadhana very early in the morning, just to really pound the pose and make fix. This is the purpose of this day, and of course of the next day as well, and so on. And to be really attentive and willing to receive. That's basically what is expected from us when we are engaging in our main sadhana, which is chanting. These two things are perfectly combined: attention and acceptance. That's basically the two things you have to offer in that moment. My Guru Maharaj will say in his own terms, just try to hear the name. Just try to hear the name. In other words, be attentive, but also hearing the name means be open to accept whatever comes from hearing the name. It's not that just hearing the name and nothing happens. Something happens as long as you're willing to accept that to happen. So attention and acceptance, I mean, you combine the two of them and you have perfect sadhana, basically, perfect chanting, perfect everything. Because that applies to your relationship with others also, sadhu-sanga. How much attentive you are in your relationship with others, how much aware or conscious you are, how much willing to accept you are to change, whatever things come through our relationships. So again, attention and acceptance, that's a new magical formula we have discovered here. So thank you, Greg, for the invitation. And Balaram from the previous question that made these two combine. Of course, so many other ways we can say the same thing with so many other words, but I find this, I mean, it's not my own idea. I'm not trying to coin now this and this is my product, but it came in a particular way, which I feel is really, it's a really nice and user-friendly way to approach our practice, which has to do with the question, our sadhana, our daily lives, attention and acceptance, attention and acceptance. And one thing should nourish the other. One thing shouldn't go against the other. We shouldn't be just attentive in such a way that there's no acceptance, because you can be attentive to things or to some stuff, but not necessarily be in acceptance of what's actually is being told to you. And you may also say, yeah, I'm accepting, I'm willing to accept, but how much you are making an effort to be attentive. So there are levels and qualities of all this. So we are to increase all this on a daily basis. So again, I hope that helps. And I'm seeing that the duration of today's class now is 108, 1 hour, 8 minutes. So I think it's an auspicious moment to close the curtain here. So thank you very much to all of you for your time. See you next week, hopefully. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Navadvip Dham ki jai, Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Gaur Pramananda, Haribo. Mancha Kalpataru Yascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha. Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Gaur